Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all who are joining us from across the world for our first Diaspora Connect webinar hosted by SBM Bank Kenya. We are extremely delighted to be hosting you this evening, and we are looking forward to a great conversation, just thought-provoking conversations around our SBM Diaspora proposition. Even as we join in, we would like to encourage you to tell us which corner of the world you're logging in from as you join on the chat. Please tell us which side or which part of the world you're joining us from, so we acknowledge you and we send salams to you and to Kenyans in your location. My name is Caroline McKenna. I will be moderating the conversation this evening, and we're coming to you live from Nairobi. We are looking forward to an extremely interactive session to share insights, but more importantly, listen to you and understand what it is we can do to power your dreams. The theme of our conversation today will be Invest Securely Back Home in Kenya with SBM Bank. So we welcome you. So even as we begin, I'd like to ask maybe one or two questions. And if this applies to you, then you can give me a thumbs up. Are you wondering about the macroeconomic outlook for Kenya? If that applies to you, you can give us a thumbs up. Are there investment opportunities that I can leverage back home? If that applies to you, you could also give us a thumbs up. Are you in need of a trusted partner who can walk this journey with you? Please give us a thumbs up if this applies to you. So I'm waiting to see if there are any thumbs coming up. Any thumbs up? Oh yeah, there they come. Fantastic. So indeed you are in the right place. Ensure to call your friends, your brothers, your sisters, family. They really need to join and listen to this conversation as we unpack how to support you to securely invest back home. On this call today, I'm joined by colleagues from SBM Bank Kenya. A brief outlay of our conversation this evening. Today we have CPA Davis Ayako, our Head of Strategy and Data Analytics. He will be unpacking for us a brief background of the macroeconomic environment and the economic outlook for Kenya. On the call, we have Paul Kaguru, our Head of Alternate Channels, and very passionate about convenient banking. So Paul understands the busy life out there, having been in the diaspora, and now back home, is home to Jenga Jamhuri. He understands the need for moving money faster and more conveniently. So Paul will walk us through convenient banking solutions. So he will be here to unpack for us those solutions. Namayamba Leambila, a relationship manager in the diaspora banking with over 10 years experience in managing diaspora relationships, will give insights on the SBM value proposition to our diaspora. One thing you need is a reliable relationship manager back home. Ivan Muneza, our assistant manager in remittances, will highlight how you can securely move money from anywhere in the world, powered by our remittance partners, into your SBM account. So we really indeed have an extremely exciting evening, and we're really looking forward to having you on this conversation. We will have a Q&A session. So even as we go along and as the presentations come in, please feel free to record any questions on the chat, and we will be glad to handle these questions as we go along. So we will start the conversation rolling, and we will keep engaging and just recognizing the people who are joining us. I see we have Sitati Mola from Roma, Italy. Thank you for joining us in this conversation. So we'll go straight into a brief introduction of SBM Bank. So we have our heritage out of the beautiful island of Mauritius, which is also an established financial services hub, and we are listed on the Mauritius Stock Exchange. So you can imagine we are a big and solid financial institution that you can trust. We have been in Kenya for the last 5 years. As a group, we have a group asset base of 1 trillion. We have won 5 industry accolades for our contribution into the industry, supported more than 5,000 businesses, and with a 600-strong employee complement, people who are ready and willing to always serve you with a smile. So, a bit of our group footprint. So you will see SBM Holdings. We are listed on the stock exchange, and we are a solid financial institution with banking operations and non-banking operations out of our Mauritius operations. Moving on next, we will move to our global footprint. We have presence in India. We have presence in Mauritius, India, Madagascar, and Kenya. And if you carefully look, we have covered the Indian Ocean rim, and we have powered trade for 50 years across the Indian Ocean rim, and we continue to power trade out of Mauritius and out of all the operations that we have. So indeed, as a group, we're celebrating 50 years of existence, having begun our operations in 1973. This has been 50 years of golden stories. We will move on to our conversation for today, and I will be welcoming Davis Ayako. And as he comes on, I will ask a question. Davis, what is the economic outlook for Kenya, and where, in your opinion, are there investment opportunities in this environment? So over to Davis, and welcome for an exciting evening.
Thank you, McKenna. Greetings to everyone from wherever you're logged in. As mentioned, my name is Davis Ayako. I take care of the strategy, data and analytics for SBM Bank Kenya. I'm excited today to be speaking to you about this interesting topic. It's always good to find out how the country is doing, especially for those working outside of the country. What are some of the opportunities that are there which you can invest in, even from where you are seated? I'm sure you're all proud, especially when you're out there. And when you tell somebody you're a Kenyan, the first thing they ask you is, do you know Faith Kipyegon? So we are well known for excellence in marathon races. We have a couple of good things that we are known for. So besides that, in terms of cryptocurrency ownership, one of the interesting things is that Kenya is ranked second in Africa in terms of cryptocurrency ownership. So approximately 6.1 million Kenyans own cryptocurrencies. So third place is South Africa, fourth place is Egypt. From a global perspective, we are top 10 in terms of cryptocurrency ownership. So there's a lot good that Kenyans are doing in terms of being seen on the global map. So if you can take me to the slide on the macroeconomic environment, I'll be able to touch on this just to highlight some of the macroeconomic indicators of the economy as we see it today. So the first economic indicator I'll be touching on is gross domestic product. So GDP basically measures the economic performance of any economy. Now looking at our performance over a period of time, in 2019, our GDP was at 5.1%. In 2020, we had a negative growth of 0.3%. We all know in terms of what happened globally in terms of the COVID-19 pandemic, which affected most economies around the world. So we did have a rebound in 2021, similar to economies around the world in terms of reopening of the economic activity, relaxation of the lockdown measures that were put in place. So the country's GDP grew by 7.5%. So as of last year, the growth was 4.8%, lower than 7.5% that we saw in 2021. So for Kenya, similar to every electioneering period, we always experience a slowdown in economic activity owing to the uncertainty around the general elections. So that's one of the key contributors that led to the drop from 7.5% to 4.8% as of end of 2022. Now looking at 2023, the World Bank projects Kenya's GDP to grow by about 5.0%. However, these are estimates that keep varying and keep changing from time to time based on the current economic activities and situations in the country. So the range right now is between 4.8 and up to 5.0% for the economic growth of the country. So in the first quarter, we've seen a growth of 5.3%, which is lower than 6.2%, which was recorded over a similar period in 2022. Now, the main drivers for the Kenyan economy is the agricultural sector, which contributes 21% to our GDP. This is followed by transport and storage sector, which contributes about 12.4% to GDP. So these are some of the sectors that had good growth in the first quarter of 2023. Now, just looking at the estimates in terms of a lower economic performance, despite a lower projection, we do see opportunities in certain sectors, and the key sectors which I've mentioned, which drive the economic performance. So on the agricultural side, the financial services, manufacturing sectors, and largely these are sectors where the government is focusing on in terms of providing budgetary support, as well as providing certain incentives just to stimulate activity within these sectors. So these are the sectors that are likely to have activity that will see some strong performance in terms of the economy of Kenya. Now, the other indicator I would like to mention is on the inflation. We've seen heightened inflation around the world. So just looking at inflation rate in the US, this hit a high of 8%, which has not been witnessed for several years now. So similarly in Kenya, our inflation rate hit a high of 9.6%. That's in October last year. We've seen this taper downwards. So currently, the latest statistics on our inflation rate is at 6.7%. So the main driver here is on food inflation, as well as on the transportation index, driven by the cost of fuel. So for those who know or have seen how the pump prices have moved over a period of time, I think this is one of the highest that we have seen, where currently petrol is retailing at 211 shillings, which is something we have not seen. I think this is the highest we have seen. From an exchange rate perspective, which is the other economic indicator, our shilling has really weakened or depreciated over a period of time. Just looking at a 1-year horizon, we've seen the shilling as of the beginning of the year trading to the US dollar at 123 shillings. As of August, end of August, this was trading at 145 shillings to the dollar. And just looking at the numbers yesterday, this was trading at 147.9. So we continue to see weakening of the shilling over a period of time. This is impacted by a number of factors which still continue to put pressure on the Kenya shilling. So one of this is the current account deficit. The other is on the debt that we currently have as a country. So out of our total external debt, 66.8% of this is denominated in US dollars. So there's a lot of pressure when it comes to repayment of the interest and also the maturities that we expected or obligated to meet. The other aspect that also puts pressure on the shilling currently is on our dwindling forex reserves. These are the reserves at the Central Bank of Kenya, which currently stand at about 7.1 billion Kenya shillings. So this has reduced over a period of time, which means there's a lot of pressure whenever there's demand for dollar in the market. So the central bank then is trained in terms of meeting this demand. Now, the support that we get in terms of ensuring that the shilling doesn't slide much further is obviously attributed to yourselves. That is in terms of the diaspora remittances that we get into the country. This goes a long way in supporting the strength of the shilling against world major currencies. The other is on the tourism inflows that we receive in terms of the tourists who come into the country. Now, in terms of interest rates, and some of the interest rates I'd like to highlight is the central bank rate, which is our benchmark rate. In the US, it's called the Fed rate. So similar to some of the policies that have been implemented by central banks around the world, where inflation has significantly heightened, we've seen an increase in that benchmark rate. Locally here, the central bank rate has increased from 7.5%. It is currently at 10.5%. And what that translates to is high cost of borrowing. So we've seen interest rates significantly increase, not only in Kenya, but also globally. In terms of the treasury bill rates, that's the 91-day, 182-day, and 1-year papers. We've seen also interest rates rise from single digit to now double digit. Most recently, you have you have a 91-day treasury bill trading at 14.8%. About a year ago, this was at around 9.9%. The 6 months paper now trading at 14.9%. This was at about 9.5% a year back. So there has been, continuous increase in interest rates, as we see on the 1-year paper as well as on the central bank rates. So McKenna, I don't know if there are any questions at this point before I move on, or any.
David, I think we have a hand up from Nancy. Nancy is one of our guests. I can maybe allow you to speak.
Okay, maybe she could type her question in the chat, and then I may take on her questions maybe at the end of the presentation.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, so next I wanted to highlight on the four phases of an economic cycle, just to give us a picture in terms of understanding the current situation that we are in today. So when you look at what is happening globally across various economies, there are different names that people use to describe these economic situations. So some people will say that we are getting into a recession. There are people who talk about us experiencing a bear market, and that sort of thing. So what is agreed or what is common is that every economy goes through 4 phases. The first one being an expansion phase, then we have a peak phase, we have a contraction phase, and then we have a recovery phase. So just to highlight, during an expansion phase, this is a phase of the economy where we experience low interest rates, which makes it easier for people to borrow funds. There's increased demand for consumer goods, and we also see GDP, rising. So this economic situation continues up to some level. So the period of expansion usually differs from every cycle. Based on the period of time that it takes for us to fully experience the expansion phase, we then reach what is called a peak phase, which is the second phase. Now, under the peak phase, this is where the economy reaches its maximum rate of return, maximum rate of growth. Here we have high inflationary pressures, and the economy begins to overheat. Now, typically what happens is that central banks around the world, when they experience or the economy experiences this, they will then come in to hike interest rates so that they can, address or combat the rising prices. Which is what I would say we are currently experiencing, where we've seen, the Fed rate hike rates from a low of 0.5% last year in March to the latest hike of about 5.5%. So this is largely to contain that inflationary pressure and basically to cool the economy. Now, once this happens, we then get into a stage which is called the contraction stage or the contraction phase. Now, what happens during this phase is that we see a reduction in spending. So there'll be less spending on especially luxury items. People will focus largely on basic commodities or non-discretionary items. We also see stock values decline. So when you look at the stock markets in Kenya and also across the globe, you'll see stock prices come down. And during such a period, investors feel safer investing in investments that have fixed income. So you'll see a lot of investments happen in what is called safe assets. So in this phase, some of the measures that are put in to contain inflation, sometimes they may reach a point where it begins to impact the economy to an extent now that the Fed or the central bank of that specific country will then now reverse some of these policies. So you'll begin to see interest rates now reduce, so that now people are able now to afford credit and also to increase spending, so that then this now sort of jumpstarts the economy. Now, the next phase, this is after we experience the contraction phase all the way to the bottom or to the level where now there's a turnaround in terms of policies that are put in place. We begin to see now that the economy on a recovery phase. Now, during this phase, we begin to see now the stock values increase, especially for those stocks that have good fundamentals in terms of strong business propositions and strong business values, which then we begin to see those stocks now rebound in terms of now getting to their true market value, and the prices then increase. So that covers the economic phases. My guidance on this is that obviously you may not really fully understand how long each phase might take, but if we can clearly see signals of some of these phases, then what we are then best practice is then to invest in assets which are ideal or are likely to outperform during these phases. But generally, from an investment perspective, don't put all your eggs in one basket, just to diversify your investments such that when one investment option is experiencing a tough situation, then you always have another investment option which then is experiencing some good returns or some better returns. And obviously then you can wait out any of these economic phases to then make a good return.
Sorry, Davis, please carry on.
Okay, I thought you were speaking. Okay, so then I will move now into touching on some of the investment opportunities. I have classified these into 4 key investment opportunities. The first one I'll talk about is on money markets, and while I talk about this, I'll also be highlighting some of the tax obligations, or what are the taxes. Because really, when you are investing, you're really looking at what is my take home after I have paid any fees or any taxes. Now, looking at the money market side, one of the first investment opportunities on treasury bills. These are issued by government, and money market instruments are instruments which have a tenor of less than 1 year. So under treasury bills, we have investments which are issued under 3 tenors. We have a 91-day paper, we have a 182-day paper, and we also have a 364-day paper. So the taxes on treasury bills is a 15% withholding tax. And the benefit of treasury bills is that these are usually discounted. So basically, the amount of money that you will invest will have already taken into account the return on this instrument. So for example, if you're buying a treasury bill with a face value of 100,000 Kenya shillings, when depending on the discount amount, we can assume in this case the discount is 10%, then what you will pay on this instrument is 90,000 Kenya shilling, and then upon maturity you will receive the face value, which is 100,000 Kenya shillings. Minimum investment requirement for this is 100,000 Kenya shillings, and to invest in this you will need a CDS account. Now, there are CDS account that is managed by the Central Bank of Kenya. That is what you will need, and this is different from the CDS account that is managed by the CDSC, which is typically used for purchase and sale of shares on the stock market. Next is commercial papers. These are issued by private companies. So there could be a private entity that is interested in raising funds for a particular purpose. They will then issue a commercial paper which will have a tenor of up to 1 year. The interest on this will be subjected as well to taxation. So the taxes here range between 15% to 30%. So 15% will be withheld, and then you will then pay the other 15% upon filing of your tax returns. Now, commercial papers do not require you to have a CDS account. There are certain forms or agreements that you will sign with the issuer of this commercial paper, which will then enable you to purchase this particular paper. Next, still under the money markets, we have fixed deposits, which are issued by commercial banks like ourselves. So also these are typically 1 year, up to a maximum of 1 year. So there are various interest rates which you can get on this. So if you speak to us, we'll be able to highlight to you the rates that we offer for various tenors and also for various currencies. Again, here the tax obligation is a 15% withholding tax. Now, in this case, the issuer will be the one who will withhold this tax. So the 15% on the interest that you earn on the fixed deposit will be withheld by the bank, and you will receive your interest net of the withholding tax. The second one is on fixed income securities. Under fixed income securities, these have tenors of beyond 1 year. Here we have treasury bonds issued by the government. So the government of Kenya will issue papers ranging from 2 years. We have papers as long as 25 years or 30 years. Now the incentive that the government has given here is that for any paper with a tenor of 10 years and above, the tax rate, withholding tax rate, is reduced, and this is at 10%. And we also do have government coming to issue what we call infrastructure bonds. Infrastructure bonds are tax-free, which means that there will be no tax on the interest that you receive. The other fixed income security we have are corporate bonds. These are issued by private corporate entities. There are a number of these that have been issued. If you visit the Nairobi Securities Exchange website, these are usually listed, indicating the amount issued, the coupon rate, as well as the tenor for these particular instruments. So we have a couple that have been issued where corporate entities go into the market to raise funds for certain investments. The other fixed income security we have is Eurobonds. These are basically instruments issued by foreign governments. So for example, the government of Kenya may issue a Eurobond where foreign investors would then come in to invest in this particular instrument. Now, typically, when these instruments are issued by the government of Kenya, local citizens are not eligible to directly participate in this. However, there are ways that you may be able to participate in these issues where the purchase happens from another country. So for example, we as SBM Bank Kenya, with our presence in Mauritius, are able to facilitate a Kenyan investor to invest in the Kenya Eurobond with the transaction or bid happening through our collaboration with Mauritius. These are usually denominated in foreign currency, so this is one of the foreign currency investments that you can make. In terms of treasury bonds, these are typically in the local currency. Now, the third investment opportunity available is purchase of stocks listed at the NSE. And obviously, yes, McKenna?
Just before you move away from the bonds conversation, I think we have a question that probably you would be in a position to handle at this point. There is a question from David asking, what's your stance on bonds and bills? Do you buy or hold off based on the government's ongoing debt issues? If you could speak into that before we move on to the next area.
Sorry, McKenna, if you could repeat the question. I didn't get the last part.
Okay, what's your stand on bonds and bills? Is it buy or hold off based on the government's ongoing debt issues? Since we've just handled the debt the bonds conversation.
Okay. So right now, looking at the investments around treasury bills and bonds, there has been a lot of interest on short-dated papers. So largely, when you look at the 91-day paper, the subscription rate has been as high as in the regions of 500%. Now, the reason for that is that we are not certain, what is the highest rate that government will offer on any of these instruments. And when you look at the bond market specifically, there's usually an inverse relationship with the return that you make and also the bond prices. So we continue to see government issue new papers at higher rates. So those who are holding papers at lower rates are at risk of, one, not being able to, trade off these securities, because when you go to the secondary market, nobody is willing to buy a bond whose price is lower than what government is currently issuing. And there is always the feeling that with the current deficit that government has and the appetite for borrowing, because the international market has become very expensive in terms of the interest rates. So to meet some of the obligations, then government taps into these instruments by borrowing domestically. So for now, based on those who are holding these instruments, I think my advice would be to hold on to these instruments since they are fixed income securities. You will continue to earn your coupon interest, which is fixed over a period of time. Before then, we begin to see a reverse in the interest rates. The other observation that you will see is that even on the bond side, government has stopped issuing papers that are beyond 5 years. So the latest papers that are on issue are a 2-year paper, which was priced at about, that came in with a coupon rate of about 16.97%. We had a 5-year paper at a coupon rate of about 16.84%. So this really is what we are seeing a lot of appetite on. Many people are not willing now to go for 10-year, 15-year or 20-year papers.
Thank you, Davis.
Okay, so back to stocks as one of the other options. So stocks listed at the NSE, you can also invest in private listings. Based on the current economic phase we are at, we've seen some of the strong performers at the NSE really drop. When you look at a stock like Safaricom, which has strong fundamentals, we've seen the price at one point hit a high of 45 shillings. As of yesterday, trading at about 14 shillings, way below its true value. And this is witnessed for most of these stocks. When you even look at the banking segment, a lot of those stocks, the prices have really gone down. So the question is, when do I get in and take advantage of now a reversal of the current situation? So what is really uncertain is for how long we'll experience this particular position in terms of these stock prices being at its lowest. But for anyone who does not have any concern with regards to holding these papers or these stocks for a long period of time, will then be able to buy these stocks at their lowest prices. And when there is a reversal, then there will be a significant capital gain from selling these shares in the future. Now, according to the tax laws in Kenya, any capital gain on sale of shares does not attract any interest. However, if you're trading shares for private listed companies, there's a capital gains tax of 15%. This rate used to be 5%, but under the new tax laws, this was raised to 15%. For dividends earned from listed entities that at the NSE, there's a 5% withholding tax. For residents and for non-residents, the tax rate is 10%. Now, moving on to the fourth investment opportunity is on property. So both land, real estate. At this stage, just looking at what is currently happening, there are a lot of properties on the market. There are not as many buyers in the market today. So there's a likelihood that you would be able to, get a good value for property today and be able to then either venture into business or be able to hold on to that property and sell it at a future date. So some of the taxes around this for people engaging in rental business and whose annual rental income is 15 million and below, the tax rate that the government here will require you to pay is currently at 10%, but with the current tax changes effective from 1st of January next year, that rate has been reduced from 7.5%. So you require just to pay a 7.5% on the rental income. But for any rental business whose annual rental income is above 15 million, then you will pay the corporate tax of 30%. Obviously, after deducting allowed business expenses, then you pay the 30%, similar to other corporate businesses out there. Okay, McKenna, that's the end of my presentation. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to respond.
Okay, thank you very much, Davis. We would like to also request our guests to put their questions on the chat so that we can also see and hear from you what is your concern, what are the areas that you'd like to have clarity on. These are some of the areas that we will be in a position to assist you. And I think, as you have spoken to this, investment is all about timing. So even as we are sharing this, timing is extremely important, when to get in, when to get out. So I think this is a very, very important takeout from this conversation. We have a couple of questions and notes coming through, and we'll just give you a moment to be able to respond to. So we have one question. One question from Jane. Okay, I think you have handled this. The question was, what are the investment options that would be best suited for the current economic situation that will allow for preservation of funds? I think you have touched on this a little as you touched on the various investment vehicles that are available in this season. We have another question from Francis Osiemo. Hello, Davis. Is the sliding Kenya shilling making Kenya an unfavorable investment destination vis-a-vis investing in the diaspora? I think this would be an important one for us to be able to just have a conversation around before we move on to the next. In just a minute or two so that we are able to we have quite a number of questions that are coming through from the audience. David?
Okay, thank you, Francis, for that question. You're indeed right in terms of the sliding Kenya shilling. We've seen actually a lot of capital flight, and really the reason for this is that interest rates in the Western markets have actually improved. Now, if you look at some of the treasury bill or treasury product rates in the US, these have actually improved. So there's a feeling from especially foreign investors in the country that they are now able to get better returns back home. They'll be able to invest their currency, their investments in in the US dollar and their return in the US dollar. So they don't have to worry about, exchange rate risk, which is currently the situation right now, or rather the concern for a lot of foreign investors, where, by the time you put your money in a local denominated investment, when you want to get out your money, what will be the exchange rate at that particular point in time? So this has actually caused a number of people to delay their investments in Kenya. However, there are still investment options that will see you have, stability on your currency. So you could still, fix your money in your specific currency. So we do have foreign currency accounts. We offer term deposits in foreign currency, which would then, see you earn your interest in the same currency. So you not have to worry about the exchange risk.
Okay, thank you very much, Davis, for such an insightful conversation around the macroeconomic environment and really painting a picture for us in terms of opportunities that are available. We've said even in the midst of a storm, there's always an opportunity. When it rains, even the umbrella seller gets business. So as you have indicated, investment opportunities are available in this season. And the most important thing is on the timing. We will continue to take your questions in the chat, and as we progress, we will be taking in the questions and answering and directing them to the specific panelists. SBM Bank is presenting to you a unique value proposition that will power your dreams to invest securely in Kenya with a trusted financial partner. Our value proposition is based on 3 key pillars. One is save. We know George Carlson, the author of Richest Man in Babylon, he encourages that start thy path to fattening, which means save money. So we have a solution in store for you, for your savings. Our second pillar is on investment. As you have heard, it's a buyer's market. So do you have cash? We have assets here in Africa, in Kenya, at home. Do you want to invest? This is the time to invest. Invest what you save. Lastly, transact. We shall power your transactions seamlessly across the world. Whatever you're paying for, whether it is family purchases, items that you want to pay for, we will be able to power your transactions from SBM Bank. I will be welcoming Namaemba to take us through a brief of our SBM value proposition for diaspora. We have seen a question from Nancy asking how to open an account, and we thank you, Nancy, for expressing interest to join SBM. We will be sharing with you in this presentation just how you can do that and how you will be able to join us as an SBM customer. Thank you, and over to you, Namaemba.
Thank you, McKenna, and good evening to all. Good morning to some. Thank you for joining us and for making time to be with us on this day. So as McKenna has alluded to, SBM Diaspora Banking prides itself on 3 pillars. We help you to save, we help you invest back home, and we give you access to your accounts via transacting. So how do we enable you to save? Our interest rates are attractive. Deposit receipts are issued to you on time, and funds held can be used as cash cover as collateral for security when you need to borrow. So our fixed deposits are in the 4 major currencies, starting with the currency in Kenya, that's Kenya shillings, pound, euro, and dollar. We also offer call deposits, where if you fix for a minimum of 7 days, you're able to access both your principal and your interest without forfeiting on the interest, and you can liquidate it at any time you want. The fixed deposit is fixed at a particular tenor and a minimum of 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months. Among the savings products that we have 2 types of savings account. We have Platinum Savings Account. This is denominated in Kenya shillings only, and it earns you an interest of 6% per annum with a minimum of 100,000 shillings. But this does not mean if you have 50,000 shillings, we're not able to open the account for you. You can open the account with as low as 5,000 shillings and enjoy an interest rate of 3% and build up to 100,000. Then the interest rate automatically moves from 3 to 6%. You're allowed to have one withdrawal per quarter without forfeiting on the interest. But the minute you make more than 2 withdrawals per quarter, the interest rate then reverts to 3%. The other type of savings account we have is the instant saver. This account has no monthly or ledger fees. You're able to access or open the instant saver account in the 4 major currencies: Kenya shillings, dollar, pound, and euro. The interest is credited quarterly, and a minimum opening deposit of 2,000 shillings or equivalent in dollar, pound, or euro. How do we allow you to transact? We're able to open for you a current account. Some call it a checking account. This comes also in the 4 major currencies: Kenya shillings, dollar, pound, and euro. The first debit card on the Kenya shillings is free, and we give you seamless branchless banking, bearing in mind you're not in the country. We also have an array of cards. We have prepaid cards, credit cards, and debit cards. So the alternate channels on how you can access the funds: we have the mobile banking app and our online banking app that is not geo-locked. The username for your mobile banking app is your phone number, and this phone number is your foreign mobile number where you reside. Please feel free to chat your questions or interrupt or raise your hand should you need to ask a question. Yes, Nancy, your hand is up. Nancy, please write your question on the chat section, then we'll be able to address it. So how do we help you invest? Through our custodial department. My colleague Davis had alluded to the question of CDSE account. So through SBM Bank, we're able to facilitate you to open a CDSE account, and in turn, we're able to help you invest in the treasury bills and treasury bonds. These could be secure, these which are secure. They could be short-term investments optioned every 3 weeks, 3 months, or over a year. Same applies to the treasury bonds. Under our investment section as well, we're able to finance you to own a home, to build a home, or to build a commercial property for renting. So what are our rates? For property, when you want to buy a house or when you want to build a house for own occupation or for commercial purposes, we do finance up to 90% of the total value of the sale value and 90% of the total of the BQs. Our debt ratio is at 50% and 60% for the diaspora elite. So we're also able to finance you to buy land. This could be vacant land for you to build later on, or if you want to start agriculture on the land. So we're able to finance you up to 5 months, and we do 60% financing of the total value of the sale price. The purchase of property or to construct, we're able to finance you up to 20 years. We're also able to finance you to acquire a motor vehicle. This could be for your own use in the country, for your mom, for your siblings, or for your children and spouses who are here. So we finance up to 8% of used vehicles and 100% financing on new vehicles. Under our investment opportunity, we're also able to finance you to complete a project. This is under our personal secured loans, where should you for example, had started buying property and halfway through or quarter way, you're not able to come up with a final payment plan, we're able to finance you to complete that project. If you were building a house, if you had bought land and you're 60 or 80% to finish, we're able to finance you to complete the project. And this, we finance you up to 5 years. And what I should also like to mention, all the loans that we advance to our diaspora customers are secured, and the property has to be owned in Kenya. The property could be owned by you, by your spouse, or by a parent. Or if it's a joint account, if the property is held in both names, we're able to finance and use that property as collateral. We're also able to give you credit cards, and this credit card is bundled up with a facility that you have acquired. So if you've taken a mortgage facility, if you've taken a construction facility, if you bought a car through SBM Bank, or if we're giving you a personal secured loan and you feel the need of a credit card, we're able to bundle it up. The credit card is denominated in Kenya shillings, and we can give you a limit up to 2.5 million. So that brings me to the end of my conversation with you, and I can't wait to hear from you and your questions. What I'd also like to mention is we have a robust 24-hour call center that's accessible to the diaspora market. Bearing in mind of the time difference, we're able to serve you should you need, assuming you've locked yourself out of your mobile banking app or your online banking and you need to access some funds, regardless of the time, you're able to call our 24-hour call center. They will receive your call, reset your password, and give you access back to your account. We also have dedicated relationship managers who are at hand to assist with any query, and we're also accessible to receive your questions or query via our WhatsApp number that will be able to share the contact at the end of this presentation. Once again, I'd like to thank you all for being on board, and I wait to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Namaemba, for sharing with us briefly the SBM Diaspora Value Proposition. I see a lot of questions coming through the chat. I can see someone talking about how do they get money into the bank through M-Pesa. We will be proceeding in a few minutes to speak to Muneza, who will be sharing with us just how you can move money from wherever you are straight into an SBM bank account so that you're able to enjoy some of the services that we're taking. We will be taking a few of the questions. I see a question about the interest rates on the Platinum Saver. I see a question about the interest rates on the Instant Saver, and we will be taking a few of these questions in just a minute. Ivan Muneza, if you are ready, please share with us how we can get money from across the world into SBM Bank Kenya and how we can power transactions from across the world. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, McKenna. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ivan Muneza, and I take care of the remittances business at SBM. I know we've quite heard a lot about what you can actually do in as far as having an account at SBM is concerned. The various investment opportunities as presented by Davis. So the big question after that becomes, how do I get some of these funds into the country? Currently, SBM is currently working with 5 global partners in which we actually enable you to send money into the Republic of Kenya, of course through SBM being the final touch point. And we currently have 3 critical significant modules at the moment. The first one being cash pickup services, in which you basically can send the money to your family, your loved one, in the event that you're actually undertaking a project or for education purposes, family maintenance and the likes. You can only send the money, and then the money is collected either through one of our partners, Western Union, MoneyGram, Zoom, which caters for the American market. And then you have Transfast, which caters in the Middle East, Europe, soon in the United States, and the better parts of South Africa. And lastly, we have Mukuru, which mostly has its roots in the southern bits of Africa. Of course, there's a question which has been sent in the chat box earlier on, in which I'll jump into it right now as I explain my next point, in which you are also able to send money via M-Pesa. There's a question touching on the limits. Someone was asking, is it possible to actually do the new set limits of up to 250,000? And the answer to that is no, owing to the nature of remittances transactions, the risk involved in it, of course. So the limits are still limited to 150,000. But hey, here's the good thing. The limits do not technically apply for bank deposits. You can deposit as much as 999,000 to your bank account at SBM. So I think that's pretty good stuff. And just an emphasis on such limits. It also enables you to build a limit, a transactional limit with the bank, in which you can also actually enjoy some of the services that the bank has to offer, in as far as the diaspora proposition is concerned. Just on a lighter note, we've really had a conversation about investing from the beginning of this webinar. The other bit is, I know how it feels when somebody has maybe traveled and you actually miss your country, and you want to reconnect to some of the cultural activities that actually take place. This actually touches on events, movies, forums, football games. I know people who actually save for some of these funds to actually attend, cultural events. So this is not only limited to investment. You can actually have it for holiday. Case in point, we actually had a major event in which the bank actually sponsored, a polo event. So it's actually quite a great opportunity to reconnect with the roots of the country from a cultural perspective. Just to give you an insight of where the bank is headed in the future, and as far as this particular business is concerned, we actually we are at the tail end of these conversations of actually enticing our customers to send money, be it to their dollar account or Kenya shilling account, without incurring any transactional fees. And then the other upside, in addition to the point I've just talked about, some of these transactions will actually occur in real time. We do appreciate the fact that in as much as you, our customers, might be in the diaspora, when you come back, we do appreciate the fact that you might actually want to send money back into the jurisdiction that you'd probably be in for either transactional services or maybe just lying in a country and need to buy a few things here and there. So we shall actually facilitate real-time movement of such funds. So these are just part of a few value adds we have in the remittances space, and we actually do look forward to working with you in future. As Namanda had mentioned, we do have a 24-hour contact center. We'll be always available to assist you whenever you need our help. I think, McKenna, that's it for me. Unless there are any questions, I'll gladly take them.
Thank you, Ivan, for just sharing with us how we can bring money into SBM banks from across the world. I think we have a suggestion as to an extra remittance that we could consider to bring on board, and we thank you very much for the suggestions. I think someone has suggested a remitter called TapTap, which is currently used widely in the US, and we acknowledge this, and we will be coming back to you, and sure we'll look into this because our interest is to power you as our customers to be able to feel connected with Kenya. As Muneza has said, we all know East or West, home is best. So we will make it a point to ensure that you are connected well with Kenya. I would like to move on to a very brief conversation with Paul with regards to our alternate offering, our convenient offering, and then we will be able to have a short Q&A session that we can take a couple of the questions that have come through the chat. And as I had indicated, Paul is the master of convenience. He wants you to do everything from the comfort of your home, and he will be sharing with us exactly how he will be powering you from Nairobi. Thank you.
Thanks, McKenna. I appreciate that opportunity. I just want to confirm, a couple of things. Once we have been able to, I think the question that's being asked is, now that I have settled with SBM and I want to work with them given the opportunities that are available, the key questions is, how do I move my financial requirements on an international platform conveniently and securely? What's the status of my finances, even when I'm looking at them from an international perspective? And then how do I handle payments? How do I handle my savings? How do I handle my investments on all these opportunities that SBM is offering me? And I think having had the opportunity to work and travel internationally, my personal experience was I really needed to find a place where I could be able to quickly look into my accounts, move around money, and I think I came home to an SBM solution. That's what I've been given the responsibility of handling on this side of the globe, is how do I ensure that people in the diaspora are able to move their funds quickly, securely? What's the ease and convenience with which they can do what they need to do? So the key things, without too much ado, is you have a mobile banking platform, you have an online banking platform, and then you have your card payments. And to respond to some of the questions that have been asked is, I think it Peter who asked, have we looked into a two-step authentication process? And yes, we are currently live on that particular platform. You can be able to do OTP on your mobile device, get a text message, but also we've introduced email authentication on your for your online and mobile transactions, which is a good thing. But I would say, just to highlight some of the key things that are available on the digital banking platforms. For mobile banking, you can do your current, savings, and fixed accounts management, all of the comfort and convenience of your mobile phone and online platform. The items that Davis touched on in terms of where to invest your money, we will be able to facilitate you being able to transact those across various accounts within SBM or even outside on your mobile and online banking platform. You can do things like RTGS, you can move money to M-Pesa, you can pay bills for your family back home, which is a big thing on this thing. And we continue to upgrade and improve our platforms just to ensure that a member is able to support you well, even as you engage with her on a diaspora perspective. A key highlight I would mention on is with online banking, you have an expanded platform, and it allows you to view in greater detail what you can do in your online banking. So there are a series of things that you can do off that particular platform. I think they have been mentioned about. I think I'll just take questions if there are any on this particular thing. The one I'd like to emphasize on is on cards, our card proposition. And I think the key highlight I would raise is on what we call our signature card, the Infinite card. Now, the Infinite card is our elite card product offering. It's what we would give you to handle your transactions, whether or not you're in country or not in country. And I think a big one is it has lounge access. It gives you, lounge access to what we call our business class or first class lounges, across the globe. And we're talking about over 1,200 lounges that you can access if you have this particular card, absolutely at no charge. And for those of us in the diaspora who are always traveling, regardless of where it is, you have airport lounge access based on this card. The other one is it gives you insurance and claims cover for any purchases you make using the card. The key one I would say is especially for your electronics, if you're buying things on that particular, and they are covered under this Infinite card, you will you'll be able to get some insurance or what we call extended warranty cover, so that if the particular product as is covered by the Infinite card purchase, you will get that. And then we do also offer you discount partnerships, and this include a whole range of things, including car hire, things you'll be able to buy, various things. Then they're all available. And then we have buyer's protection insurance, which covers damage to cell phones and other digital devices. If you visit our platform, Visa Cards, .Africa, that's listed there, you can see just all the benefits you get on that. Given how we are going, I would not want to emphasize too much on the others, but that was the key highlight. I think I just went up to questions or any queries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul. And before I let you go, I think there's a question here from Nancy asking, currently I'm in Lebanon and I don't have a Lebanon mobile card. I use Airtel card. How can I access the account? How are you able to power her to access her account?
Sorry, I didn't catch the name. The name was?
The name is Nancy.
Nancy, like I indicated, if your account is open with SBM and your mobile or online platform is set up, you can be able to use our email OTP platform to manage those things. So as long as you have an Android or Apple device, you can get onto our Mfukoni or online platform. You can do your transactions, and if you need to authenticate them, you can authenticate them using email OTP, so that your mobile phone number is not necessary as long as you set up on email OTP. So you can do it across the globe. As long as you have an internet connection, you'll be fine.
Thank you, Paul, for taking that question and responding to Nancy. I see a question here from Migiro asking if a part of a group of investors, would you be able to set up a CDSV account for our group to purchase government paper? And I can confirm that is possible. You've shared with us your details, and we will be sharing with you information. Thank you for the interest. We will be reaching out to you right now. We'll take maybe one or two more questions before we can close. On the chat, I see a question asking whether if you have a piece of land and you are looking for an opportunity to have a construction support, we ask Namaemba to please respond to the question.
Hi, thank you. Yes, if you have a piece of land and you'd want to develop it, we as SBM Bank are able to finance you to do the construction. What we'd require from you, you need to get the necessary approvals first. So you will need to get NEMA approval, you will need to get NTA approval, you will need to get a contractor, a valid contractor who has done credible work in the past, that he or she is able to share their work profiles that they've done in past, so that we're able to vet them. And the contractor should also be able to come along with quantity survey, and then we'll be able to do 90% of the total BQs, that quantities, bill of quantities for the whole project. Then you as the customer comes up with the 10%. Please share your email address with us, and we'll be able to reach out to you to discuss further on this financing option.
Thank you very much, Namaemba. I think we'll take maybe one or two more questions before we wind up. I see a question. I see a suggestion from Lucy saying Nala is also a great money transfer app, which we will be in a position to look at it from the SBM side. And she also says you can transfer your funds from the UK to your SBM account via SBM M-Pesa Paybill. So that tells you that indeed we can collect your monies from around the world into Kenya. I think I have been able to look at all the questions coming through the chat. On the chat, we have also shared our contact details for our diaspora, which is diaspora at sbmbank.co.ke. You can also reach us at your service at sbmbank.co.ke. We have also shared our official WhatsApp number on the chat, so it is a number that you're able to come through and connect with us. There are a couple of questions about interest rates, and we will be reaching out to you so that to have a conversation, understand your need, and we'll be able to quote you based on your requirements. But I can confirm that we indeed have a very, very, very competitive pricing model, especially for your deposits, both in foreign currency and in Kenya shilling, and we can quote you extremely competitive rates. Okay, there's a question here from Albert, who asked about a credit card denominated in foreign currency and being used outside Kenya. How do I convert? Is the transaction one-to-one? I will direct this question to Paul.
Thanks, Albert. I think your question is, do we have a dollar-denominated credit card? At this point, no, we do not. We do have a dollar-denominated prepaid card, which I think would also be quite ideal on this situation. We are working to implement the credit card as well in the next, in the near future. So that's also currently under development. With regards to the second question on conversion, I'm not sure I understand the question, but I'm assuming you're saying at what rate do we convert that? I think you will get the best rate from SBM in comparison to other banks. Please pick up one. We are happy to give you what would be a very, very good rate on this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul, for that clarification. I see a question from Charles, a suggestion, I believe, saying, can we have RTGS added for direct settlement with CBK DAO CDS platform? This would work in the same way like the Paybill platform. Charles, we take your feedback. Through this session, we are also receiving feedback so that we are able to power you in a more in a better way, so that you're able to do your investments here without too much struggle. So thank you for the suggestion. We will be looking at this. We have a question here from Maurice. Can we have a group joint account for investing back home? What do we require? Yes, Maurice, you can hold a group joint investment account. We will be able to facilitate you to open that account as a group, and you can send your money back home for investments. We will be sharing our contacts on the chat so that you're able to get through to us, and we will be in a position to guide you through this process and welcome you into SBM. Okay, so there's another question from Albert asking for mortgage loans. Please also share what are some of the requirements you need. For example, employment is based on a contract which is 1 to 3 years renewable. Does this affect the decision to issue a loan or a lending proposition? Namaimba, you could please assist us to respond.
Thanks, McKenna. Albert, yes, so some of the requirements while you borrow from SBM Bank, so we'll need a copy of your employment contract letter detailing your terms of employment. We'll need your 1-year bank statement where your salary goes through or your business proceeds if you're self-employed, 3 months pay slips or pay stubs if you're salaried. Then we'll need your credit score, we'll need your tax returns, we'll need a copy of the seller agreement once you finalize the details with the seller, and then we'll need you to fill in the loan application form from the bank. I hope I've been able to answer, but we'll be able to reach out to you, or you can reach out to us through the contacts shared. The WhatsApp number is the one that's +254 773 758 196. Thank you.
Thank you, Namaimba. I think we have been able to do justice to almost all the questions that have come through. We are sharing our contacts on the chat so that you're able to reach us, and we are in a position to pick up your questions, and we will be able to solution you here, have conversations with you. I can confirm that we are a relationship team, and relationships are important to us. Whatever time of the day you are in, we will be able to sync, and we will reach you and have conversations with you with regards to your investment back home. So, ladies and gentlemen, SBM is here to power your dreams in investing securely back home in Kenya with a trusted financial partner. We thank you very much for taking time to join us on our very first Diaspora webinar. We promise we will be having subsequent ones so that we can share and pick up ideas from you and how else we can power you. And indeed, we appreciate all the feedback and all the insights that we have received. Thank you very much for taking your time to be with us. We thank all the teams that have enabled this webinar. Thank you to the marketing team and all the communication team that has made this possible and powered this first webinar from SBM Bank. Thank you to all our colleagues who have joined us, and we want to wish you all the very best for the rest of the day and the evening. Asante sana. We can continue chatting on the offline as we pick the conversations out here, and we'll be able to talk to you and guide you through the processes. Thank you very much, and we really, really appreciate your time this evening. Thank you, and asante sana.
Thank you all for making the time to join us on this call. Have yourselves a lovely day, and we hope to hear back from you. And for those who shared your email addresses and contacts, we'll definitely to reach out to you so that we can progress the conversation further. Have a good day and see you soon.